If you've ever been in the middle of a presentation or a keynote and felt the room start to check out, you know how fast that moment can slip, especially when the ideas really matter. I once gave a keynote where I could literally feel the energy slipping away, not because the idea was weak, but because I missed what that moment really needed. I realized I was telling the wrong story, and that was because I didn't plan my keynote with the right framework. In this video, I'm going to show you this simple 4-part storytelling framework that leaders use to frame their message so people lean in and lock in. Now, what happens next isn't academic storytelling information, but clarifying the heartbeat of your presentation so you're not misunderstood. Let's go back to that mistake I made. I was in the middle of my keynote, nailing all the techniques, strong voice, solid structure, all of it. But the crowd, they checked out. Afterwards, I dissected my talk, and I realized my mistake. I was passionate, but I was coming off like a salesman, the wrong tone for that crowd. I didn't nail down the right purpose for the talk. Every presentation boils down to 4 main reasons. Each needs a different playbook to avoid missteps and save your reputation. The first is sales. It's like standing at the base of a mountain, convincing people that it's worth climbing. You address the objections, ask for buy-in, but make sure you're not pitching to folks who are already sold. Now, I'm afraid that we've slipped into treating every talk like it's a sales pitch, which might be wrecking your credibility. We don't like being sold, especially if we're already on board. I learned that the hard way. Next is education. Not convincing the climb, but showing them how. The win here is clarity. Forget excitement. Most leaders in senior roles won't do this often, but when you do, focus on getting them to understand the steps for success clearly. When the purpose is motivation, everybody's ready, but maybe too tired to move. Your job is to remind them why it's worth climbing and why they can do it. And finally, alignment. Everyone's climbing, but in different directions. Reinforce the goal. Don't sell them what they've already bought. Make sure they understand where they're heading. Alignment's purpose isn't excitement, it's to create cohesion. Most leadership presentations are actually alignment moments, even if we don't label them that way. And here's some proof. Think about your last few team meetings or town halls. How much time was spent pitching brand new ideas that the listener had any ability to say no to? Versus clarifying direction and reminding everyone what's already important and making sure that everyone's rowing the same way. I bet most of those talks were really about keeping people on the same page. And I've seen this firsthand over and over. Leaders feel the pressure to wow the team, but what people really need is clarity about where we're going together. Now, once your purpose is clear, there's another mistake leaders make that's just as costly. And I've learned this many times over, including just a few months ago. Most of my performances and experiences are intimate. They're small groups of adults around a table with slow reveals, room for nuance. The experience is called the Box of Wonders, and it's my masterwork. But this year, my niece roped me into performing at a university holiday banquet. Big crowd, college students, total Box of Wonders, curveball. If I'd stuck to my usual material, it would have flopped. Not because the material was bad, but because it was wrong for that room. College students want energy, quick engagement, sharper humor. So I threw out my normal plan. I changed the pacing. I talked directly. I met them where they were, and it worked. The whole room was alive. That night made something click for me. Every audience needs something different from you. It's exactly the same with leadership. Senior execs don't listen like a college crowd. Your board needs something different than your all-hands meeting, and an industry keynote is different than a TEDx talk. Even within the same company, every room has its own needs and limits. This is where so many leadership messages break down. You nail the purpose, but you don't translate it for the people right in front of you. Knowing your audience isn't about titles or age or department, it's about attention. It's what they can give and what they need to stay present and what will actually reach them. Once you get that right, your message lands. Okay, back to the mountain. Your job as a leader isn't just to talk, it's to move people somewhere. That movement depends on both your purpose and your audience. If your purpose is sales, the movement is buy-in, getting people to agree to start the climb. If it's education, it's clarity, making sure everyone knows exactly where to put their feet. If it's motivation, it's belief, reminding the folks that they could make it to the top. And if it's alignment, Your movement is coordination, making sure everyone's on the same path and at the same pace. But what separates strong leaders from the rest is they don't just want an action. They want people to know why they're taking that step and where it leads next. You're not just programming people to follow instructions. You're leading them on a real journey. For example, imagine you're asking a team to adopt a new process. You could say, start using this tool on Monday, but that turns it into just a checkbox. Instead, you show them how this tool will streamline their workflow and help the whole team reach a bigger goal, like a faster project delivery or better collaboration, because that'll help you get to now the action makes sense in the context of a larger journey. When your team understands not just what, but the why and the where, they act with purpose, not just compliance. And the last piece of the framework, structure. Now, a whole lot of leaders groan when they hear that word. Structure sounds like rigid storytelling formulas or cheesy tricks, and nobody wants to sound canned. Most leaders want to get up and be direct and just tell people what matters. I get it. But when a leader says, I just want to tell them, what they're often saying is, I haven't thought through how I need this to land. Structure isn't about performing or forcing your message into someone else's template. It's about arranging your ideas so they actually reach the people while serving your purpose, your specific audience, and the movement you need. And once you've nailed those earlier steps, structure is simple. It comes down to 3 questions. Number 1, what do your listeners need to hear so they're open and not resisting from the start? So, what are you saying that makes them care when you start talking? 2, what needs to become clear before they actually start to move? So, what's your big idea that you're going to communicate? What do you want them to know? And 3, what has to be reinforced at the end so the moment sticks when you're done? What are they supposed to take away? Make it super clear. Let me give you an example from my experience. Remember that keynote I mentioned earlier, the one where I could feel the audience checking out? I realized I'd made things way too technical. I was basically selling them on an idea and drowning them in details. Using this framework I've laid out, I took a step back, re-clarified my purpose, really considered who was in the room, and then rebuilt my talk around a much simpler structure. Start with what mattered, cut the jargon, reinforce the core message at the end. And you know what? People leaned in. The conversation after was energetic. The message finally landed. And that's the power of simple structure. When you get it right, people don't notice the technique. They just get it. So that's a framework: purpose, audience, movement, structure. When you take the time to line up each piece, your message doesn't just get heard, it sparks real engagement and action. Most leaders skip straight to talking, but if you prep with intention, you'll actually see the shift you were hoping for. But I know the big question now is, okay, how exactly should I open my presentation? In this video, I'll break down exactly how to grab attention and set the tone the right way from the very first sentence. You don't want to miss it. Watch it next.